Tekken 8 had a pretty successful launch, but reviews for the game on Steam are now mostly negative. It's more than just one thing, but the straw that broke the camel's back was a DLC map, one that wasn't included in the season pass and cost an additional $5. Honestly, it looks like Tekken could be in serious trouble. Players are pissed. Harada already deleted his statement about it, and on top of it, a Chinese pro was banned from a Tekken World Tour event after playing through nearly the entire bracket. It's an absolute mess, so how did we get here? So Tekken 8's rating sank to mostly negative on Steam yesterday, and it isn't the first time it's happened. This time, the trigger was the release of Heihachi Mishima and his associated Genmaji Temple map. Now, back when the previous DLC fighter Lydia released, they included a stage, Seaside Resort, free of charge for everyone, even those who didn't own the pass. But they're charging for this new one, even if you own the season pass, even if you bought the ultimate edition of the game or whatever. Fans have kind of had enough with this stuff, and there are a few reasons why. For one, it just feels horrible. Sure, the first one was a freebie, and maybe they said that somewhere, maybe it wasn't clear to some people, but at the end of the day, they are selling a lot of additional stuff in this game. They sold Heihachi, obviously, and there's a ton of additional monetization in this game, but we'll have to get back to that point in a sec. But the second thing is that stages in Tekken actually matter. In a lot of fighting games, particularly 2D ones, a stage is mostly just a background. Sure, sometimes there are slight differences or things on the map that you can interact with, but at the end of the day, it's mostly just a backdrop. In Tekken 8, stages are actual 3D spaces with different shapes and sizes, and none of them are infinite like in Tekken 7. Some of them have wall breaks or stage hazards or floor breaks. Certain combos are only possible in stages that have these elements or that are a certain size. So it's not something that people can be expected to go without. If you plan to compete in anything from your locals to a Tekken World Tour event, you need to know these maps, and that means practicing them. Of course, Bandai Namco could ban Genmaji Temple in Tekken World Tour if they wanted to, although that seems pretty unlikely given that they want you to buy the stage. And if you do buy the stage, well, good luck actually seeing it when you're playing ranked online, because apparently in order for that to happen, both you and the person you're matched against have to own the map, and then it has to be randomly selected. So with all of this in mind, people were pretty pissed. And Bandai Namco Executive Game Director Katsuhiro Harada issued a statement shortly thereafter that was pretty candid and explained his view on things. In that statement, he clarified that the first free stage with Lydia was the exception, and maybe they could have done a better job explaining it. He also noted that the story update in the patch was free for all players, even though it represented more development time than the map. While that may be true, a lot of fans aren't happy with this content either, so it's cold comfort for some. But the most intriguing part, and the likely reason that this tweet was deleted, was the next part of Harada-san's statement. He said that the community's opinion should have been considered, that he failed to create an organizational structure that would allow him to oversee things beyond his own position, and that he personally was clearly becoming passive, worrying about the relationship between companies and not exercising his role. He also promised change to the structure after a review. Maybe there really is a schism within the company, with some suits trying to milk the thing for all they can, while developers try to ensure that the player experience doesn't suffer as a result. But the tweet was deleted 2 days after it was posted, so I wouldn't hold my breath for any changes or even a review. Harada's statement also alluded to a larger trend in Tekken 8, which is very aggressive monetization. If you recall, this game launched without the Tekken store. Remember what they took from you. Like those cool Wendy's restaurants with a sunroom, Tekken 8 without the store was just a fleeting moment in time. We didn't know how good we had it. So the version of the game that nearly everyone reviewed, websites and content creators alike, did not have this monetization in it yet. Then later on, they snuck it in. And while the store is cosmetic DLC only, some of the stuff really is old content like legacy costumes from previous games that have just been brought up to spec for Tekken 8. I want to quickly harken back to a comment much earlier in the year made by Tekken chief producer Yasuda and translated by Michael Murray, which stated that the whole point of the store was to give the company more ways to improve the game.
As you've seen what we did with Tekken 7, we tried to refresh the game and to provide a better experience overall, rather than just trying to make money off these individual items. So the thinking is the same for Tekken 8 in that we're trying to make it a better game, and this is just one of the ways that we plan to do that. So please keep that in mind.
Okay, now Bandai Namco is obviously not the first company to pull this shit, but it still feels pretty underhanded, especially when they had the audacity to sell us frame data in Tekken 7. There was even a recent scare where data mined assets seemed to suggest that loot boxes were coming to the game. And once we saw what those costume packs actually were, Tekken content creator King J predicted that even if those boxes aren't randomized right now, you shouldn't expect that to last.
If you buy one skin here, it's 400, right? If you buy 2 skins, it is 400. There's nothing wrong with buying these skins for 400. I'm just basically trying to tell you that this is not gonna stay like this, and these will then eventually become loot boxes, which will be randomized for you to then be able to get certain packs.
So fans hate the monetization, and with Harada's statement now deleted from the internet, there were people who felt that it was time to make their voices heard by tanking the review score. Here's my pretty simple take on this. If you don't listen to your players, they'll find a way to make themselves heard. And yeah, it's just a review score, but at the end of the day, what else do fans of this game really have? While monetization and communication are by far the biggest issues in play, it's not like the rest of Tekken 8 is perfect right now. We've had a pretty conservative balance strategy during the game's young life to date. Generally, I'm okay with that in principle, but the same characters are starting to show up again and again, and since Tekken World Tour finals aren't for a couple months, it's likely that any changes we do see will be incremental tweaks, so we're pretty much stuck with what we've got for now. The White Angel of Death, Dragunov, has been very popular competitively, and he's pretty much the de facto pick a top tier pick in the competitive scene right now. But he's been joined by others as things have solidified. Jin, Nina, and Elisa are all pretty strong. Yoshimitsu seems kinda busted, and it feels like King is a broken character video waiting to happen. Please let me make the King video. Could the balance have been worse? Yeah, definitely. Just take a look at Tekken 7's Akuma, or Geese, or Leroy, or Fakumram.
Just pick Leroy.
But I'm tired of seeing Dragunov mirrors in grand finals, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. The Tekken World Tour finals should be hype, and I'm awaiting them with unrestrained glee. But the balance situation takes some of the fun out of it, as does the recent revelation at Tiger Uppercut, a Tekken World Tour event, that Chinese players aren't even allowed to compete. That's right, they disqualified XCC, a Chinese player, mid-bracket, right before top 8 basically. According to the rules, he shouldn't even have been allowed to enter. The crazy part is that this is an international game. The characters all speak in their native language, and yet they somehow all understand each other. 2024 should have been a massive year for Tekken 8, and in some ways it still could be. But it's hard not to look back at the year we've had and lament the game and the year that we could have had. What do you think? Is the stage worthy of our frustration? How much better a year could Tekken 8 have had with a steady hand at the wheel? And did someone break into Harada's office and force him to delete that tweet? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you want more content like this, hit the sub button and ring the notification bell. For unique bite-sized videos you won't find anywhere else, hit us up on our X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.